and welcome to the July 2024 episode of Voices of CFMA, Construction Financial Management Association's podcast featuring conversations with industry leaders, sponsored by Old Republic Surety. I'm your host, Sal Marino, CFMA's Director of Communications and an Assistant Editor for CFMA Building Profits magazine. This month, I am thrilled to talk to Mikaela Cook at IMI Tennessee. Mikaela, welcome. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Mikaela. I am the Assistant Controller at IMI Tennessee, LLC. It's a ready-mix concrete producer. We do building material supplies and that kind of thing as well, but primarily concrete. The parent company, Irving Materials, Inc., also has a subsidiary, EMB Paving. They do asphalt construction, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So a little bit of that with my colleagues, but I am primarily concrete.
Awesome. And how'd you get started in the industry?
I graduated from Roanoke College in 2018. I graduated with my Bachelor's of Business Administration with a concentration in accounting. Accounting was not my first choice. It was originally marketing. I had a college assignment where we had to see all the job possibilities with what we wanted to do.
Right.
Realized that marketing, sometimes the first to go, maybe not the highest paying jobs. So quickly changed that to accounting just from the job security aspect of it. Really appreciated that decision that PASME made come 2020. All my marketing friends got laid off. We were super busy. So that, it's kind of a quick full circle, but it was nice that that decision kind of paid off that fast.
Right.
So I started working at Brown Edwards & Company. It's a regional CPA firm based out of Virginia. I originally wanted to do tax. Everyone says, oh, you'll hate tax, you'll hate tax. And I was convinced I will not hate tax. I will live, breathe, and die tax. I didn't love tax, but I didn't hate tax. But I primarily worked with construction clients during tax season, doing kind of their audit review, compulations, and then the tax return is ultimately what they were after. But the bonding companies and such needed those financial statements. So all of that to be said, I really liked working with those clients. They seemed to be the most appreciative of the work that you were doing. A lot of my clients were smaller, mom and pop type. The husband was out doing it and running the day to day. And then the wife was in the office planning, scheduling, payroll, accounting, that kind of thing. So they were just appreciative of your help. Whereas some of my non-construction clients, you were the bad guy for them.
Right.
No one likes to be the bad guy.
Nope.
So started in construction in that sense. Long answer, sorry.
No, that's great. So what brought you to CFMA?
Originally, I joined just as the national chapter, national organization, no chapter related. Some of my old colleagues from Brown Edwards that were pretty involved and, saw their post on LinkedIn. And I considered getting my CCIFP when I was at Brown Edwards. They're very big proponents of it. Just honestly didn't have the time or the want to really there at the time. I recently finished my CPA, which was a 2.5-year process during COVID. So the thought of another test was just not going to happen. So then I finally got my CCIFP while working at IMI. And so once I did that, I needed the construction hours and that kind of stuff. So I finally got involved with the chapter locally to me. So I've been doing that pretty intensely ever since joining.
That's great. So did joining a local chapter change things for you with CFMA?
It's been great. I say accidentally joined the board after joining a couple months later. They had a strategic planning meeting, and during one of the luncheons, they said, anyone's welcome to join. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I'll join.
Right.
Turns out I was the only one that thought it was interesting. That wasn't a board member. And so, the first thing was, we need to, work on, our board and adding some new members. Does anyone have any suggestions? And everyone kind of looked at me like, well, you're here. Are you joining or what? But it's been great. I moved to Nashville during COVID and worked from home during that time, just like everyone, and didn't do a super great job of networking with, other professionals, in my field or, related to the field very early on. So CFMA has been great ever since, just kind of getting those connections locally. Our headquarters in Indiana. So, as a company, we have a lot of Indiana connections, but I just wanted to kind of build that network, for me here. So it's been great so far.
That's awesome. Well, it really was an accidental joining
Yeah,
of
yeah.
chapter. That's great. So you have your CCIFP. Can you tell me a little bit about how having this designation has changed your role?
Yeah, it's been great. I didn't know a lot. And I did my CPA license. So as far as the accounting, and I did it after RevRec. So, I know that's kind of the biggest.
Yep.
Everyone's like, I don't want to take it because of RevRec. Like it's so different now. It's like, is it though? Like you're still doing all of that every day. Like, but so the accounting part was pretty easy as far as the studying and test taking goes. But it was really nice to kind of dip my toe in the water of the risk management and the IT, the budgeting and planning, kind of learning, maybe not super in depthly, by no means an expert, but just kind of learning a little bit about that and recognizing some of those terms that maybe I hadn't heard before, but now when it's said, like, oh yeah, that was on the CCFP. I have that resource to go back to. Don't ask me a question about it right now, but let me
No
flip
pop
through
quizzes, I promise.
let me flip through some stuff and get that information. So
That's awesome. So what was your motivation to get the CCIFP designation?
uh, I wanted to, in public accounting, you're always learning something new or doing this or doing that. They're sending you to this conference or that conference. It's a very, kind of linear
Mm,
progress. I wanted to be sure that when I got out of public and started in the industry, that I would stay current on some of those things. Um, so the CCIP was kind of an easy first step of, having that, hey, I want to do this. I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to grow as a professional. And it was an easy first step just because I'd already taken the CPA. I'd already test taking is not a problem, that kind of thing. But it's been great just to kind of have that, like, hey, I'm still progressing and still want to learn and do more things. And my company was super appreciative of me wanting to do that and wanting to learn that. So they were behind it. The cost of the exam and prep and all of that. They were fine with that just to kind of continue to
right.
grow. So,
That's great. Do you know how many CCIFPs you guys have?
I am the only one in my company.
Very nice. So look at you standing out.
Yeah. Everyone sees it on my wall and they're like, what's that? Like, oh gosh.
You're like a brand ambassador. It's great.
Yeah.
So what about advice? Do you have any advice you'd give to somebody who wanted to pursue the CCIFP designation?
Yeah. The book is daunting for a lot of people, I think, just because there's so much information. But the CFMA does have the flashcards, and you can do them on your phone. I did that constantly. That was honestly the only way that I studied. I don't think I cracked the book open. Maybe I mean, it was electronic for me, but it was a couple times that I, actually used that resource. Getting a pedicure or whatever it was that I was just sitting and playing on my phone. I tried to open that rather than social media or something like that. And it honestly made the study process a breeze. So definitely would suggest those.
All right. Use the flashcards. That's great. Um,
Yeah.
what about so what do you get up to in your spare time? Like what's your hobbies? Anything cool?
Yeah. So I live in Nashville. So obviously country music, a big part of my life. My husband's in the country music world. So we spend a lot of time concerts, going out with friends, that kind of thing. I have a dog at home that we try to take up to the dog park as frequent as possible. So lots of time there, just the normal stuff.
What kind of dog?
She's a Maltipoo.
Very
She
nice.
very small, feels very ferocious.
Oh, she sounds awesome. Back to advice. Do you have any advice that you've received over the years that you've held on to?
I worked with a partner at my old job. Scott Clark is his name. He honestly taught me just to like ask the questions. No, I wouldn't say that he said no dumb. There's no dumb question because sometimes he would look at you like, oh, that's a little bit of a dumb question. But just kind of ask those questions. There's so many people that are willing to help and wanting to teach you the things that they know.
Right.
And it's just, it's so easy to it's so hard for someone teaching you to not know what you don't know. And it's so easy to overlook that. So, ask those questions, find someone who's willing to teach you. He would sit down and explain something, top to bottom to me if I asked and have no problem doing that. And I think that's the reason that I consider a good accountant today. Very willing to explain anything you had a question on and do it very in depthly and piece by piece. So it was always helpful.
Well, Mikaela, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And thank you all for listening to another episode of Voices of CFMA, sponsored by Old Republic Surety. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe and also share it on social media. And if you're interested in learning more about the Construction Financial Management Association, check out cfma.org. Once again, I'm your host, Sal Marino, and I will see everyone back here next month. Thanks.